Um, you know, this, the end of the year is coming, just a few more days. And I mean, this has been some kind of an extraordinary year, very difficult year, but a year of such internal growth that I'm very grateful for it. Sometimes I even felt in my life like I was some kind of bullock, you know, driving some kind of wagon full of I don't know what, trying to get from one place to the other. But the work, the internal work, has certainly gone to another dimension. And for that, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for all of you who attend these classes and certainly are benefiting from them. But, there are going to be a lot of changes in 2022. I can feel like a lot of the heaviness, a lot of this COVID stuff is going to start going away. And, we'll be able to start doing in-person classes as well as classes on Zoom. But, classes that I was doing actually for like almost 4 or 5 months, but I kind of stopped it because of this new variant of, COVID that suddenly hit the world. But I can feel that this is all going to resume itself again. Retreats are going to come back, and we'll be doing all these kind of things. And it'll be just a pleasure to be able to sit with people, work with them, to transmit this amazing teaching that I learned from Rudi, so that each person that comes in their own unique way can build a chakra system that'll give them direct connection with higher energy in the universe. I think after this year, I mean, I can only see that, that it was basically putting in the foundation to do what I'm talking about. I mean, there must be 35, 40 people here, that study here that are really good students, that have made a deep commitment to a spiritual life, that are working hard on themselves. And it's that kind of foundation that'll produce, another level of consciousness and another level of work for all of us. And I can only say I'm grateful for that. I really am, because it's just a sign to me, really what a miracle Rudi's meditation practice is, that you can do it here on Zoom. And it affects people. There are people sitting here from Australia, from Brazil, all over the United States. I mean, it's really amazing that it can affect people that deeply and help them to truly begin to develop a consciousness of how to build an inner life and how to get closer to God. So, I tell you, I'm very tired. This has been an extremely difficult year. But it was worth every moment of it, every bit of tiredness and every bit of work, to see this real foundation for the future having come together. And on it, I really can see built very deep inner work, in-person inner work, retreats, doing work that will help everybody involved build a much, a deep, deep system that will get them closer to their spiritual enlightenment. So many different people and so many wonderful faces and bright eyes and twinkle in their eyes and so much love coming through Zoom, for God's sake. It to me is like some kind of a miracle. And I just can't tell you how grateful I am to all of you for being part of this. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
About when change happens and we are asking for a sign, how do I discern what is my will versus God's will? Could you please talk about that?
Well, the discernment is simple, Christine. I mean, if, God's will always help you, no matter what the circumstance, God's will help you get closer to God. It will help you to open deeper. It'll give you a more profound inner realization. It'll teach you how to discern between illusion and reality. Your will, my will, the will, human will, just endlessly gets us into all kinds of trouble. It really is entwined with ego and what we want in life, what we think life should be. Part of my exercises, I say, with a quiet mind, I just ask this, I say, with a quiet mind, open and receive God's wisdom, not even God's will, God's wisdom. Because God's wisdom so transcends anything human beings can understand that you have to, in opening to it, surrender. You have to let go of whatever your will wants to do, whatever you think is right or wrong, and allow that energy to flow through you and to guide your life. So there's a very big difference between what we want and what the universe wants for us. And it takes an amazing development in a human being to be able to be sensitive enough to allow that energy of the universe to guide their life. It's such a deep level of surrender and letting go of whoever and whatever we think we are, and allowing God to determine, spirit, higher energy, to truly guide our lives. And, and that guidance takes you closer to your enlightenment. Now, your will can make you money, can make you this, can, yeah, all right. I mean, those things are important too, but it's not getting closer to your enlightenment. And God, I've learned in my life that when I surrender in that kind of depth, answers always come. They always come. And they're never the answer that I think they're supposed to be. It's something else. But it's something that opens my heart in such a deep and profound way that it takes me to the next level in my life. That's how you know higher energy is working for you. And higher energy will also bring you to that place where you need to go deeper inside so you can break down the obstructions and transcend all the difficulties that are keeping you from getting to a higher level of consciousness in yourself. In fact, it's all God's will. Even our will is God's will. Oh, it's God's will teaching us, not to listen to ourselves so much and to open and allow a higher voice in the universe to guide us, Everything is a manifestation of God. It depends upon how we use it. Most negative situations are a manifestation of God's energy. I mean, COVID-19, look, it produced the Zoom class. Without COVID-19, this class would have never come about. But it's learning to use that higher energy to create something positive out of a negative situation. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you. That was very helpful, Stuart, to me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, the whole point of all this, honestly, is to become nothing, which is a very difficult term for us to comprehend growing up in the Western world. Because from the moment we're born, we're taught that we have to become something. And all of our will, our energy, our life, our time is invested in becoming something, and this is the reverse. It's surrendering yes, you have goals in life, you have things you have to do, you have rent you have to pay, you have to earn a living, you have families that you have to take care of. All that's part of working out karma in the world. The way to truly work it out is to attain a state of nothingness inside that allows that higher force to come through you and guide your life. It will give you the intelligence, the knowledge, the wisdom. It'll provide abundance for you. It'll provide everything that you need in order to work out your life and work out your karma. It doesn't provide greed. You understand? Or using people in a bad way, or having power over people and all that stuff, But it gives you consciousness. It gives you an ability to recognize how important it is to let go, to surrender very deeply inside yourself. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask?
Stuart, Rudi spoke about internally living in a 20-room mansion rather than like a 1-room or 1-bedroom apartment within oneself. Could you just speak to what he's, talking about there, living that inner luxury?
Well, it's analogous to understanding that your inner life is like a university. There are many different departments. There are many areas of learning. There are many things that can enrich you and develop you as a human being, and it's like a 20-room house. Every room has a different area of learning. And when we open, all of that learning coalesces, it comes together. And it gives us a kind of wisdom that it's impossible to get if we just try to get that wisdom by rationalizing and using the mind. So a human being becomes a vast creative person instead of somebody that's living with blinders, that it can only be this way and that way. And you live with this vastness inside yourself, an entire university, of learning and growing and wisdom and knowledge and, love and compassion and forgiveness and, and all of these elements that are so deeply embedded inside every human being that you tap. And they give you that kind of vastness of character, of being. And I think, he was like that. I can't, laud myself, but my life has always been about, opening to that vast university in myself. And then in every meditation class, trying to share that vastness with the people that attend. So what he was talking about is, Rudi, he said, I want to eat, life is like a smorgasbord. I want to eat from every dish on the table so I don't have to come back here for anything. He used that metaphor a lot about life being this vast smorgasbord. And I want to eat from every single dish on the table. I don't want to just specialize in, rice and beans or steak or, the whole feast of life, all 24 rooms in the house, every department in the university. I want to absorb, I want to grow with, I want to be able to live with. And in my teachings and in my life, I want it it to be an expression of what is going on inside me. And then you discover, even in dealing in the objective material world, how unbelievably creative you can be. And that there are no dead ends. If a door closes, there's always another one that opens, always. Unless you just accept the fact that there's nowhere to go. You become like one of these characters in Kafka that can't get through the door to the other side. I mean, one is an existential threat to themselves when one lives that way. But to understand that we really have this vast university in us, and that university will express itself in life, in so many different areas of life, we have the ability to be creative. I mean, I understood this even before I met Rudi. He just gave me the ability to develop it in myself. He taught me how to do it. I wanted to live this way years before I met him. That's why when I was 20 years old, I went and was hitchhiking all over the world and looking for this and that, trying to open to vast numbers of experiences. And I didn't realize then that all of it was inside me. I didn't have to really go anywhere except inside myself. Because that's where the whole mansion is. That's where all the abundance is. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, Wendy. So I'd just like to wish everybody a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. I mean, look, I wasn't raised a Christian, but I must have always understood that Christ was one of the greatest beings that ever stepped foot on this planet. And all of his talks, sermon on the like great Vedas, in Hinduism, and the wisdom is so extraordinary that people should listen. It's not about being Christian or Jewish or Muslim. It's about being human and opening and really, developing the ability to connect with God. And I think the Buddha, Christ, all of these incredible beings that have manifest, Padmasambhava, et cetera, every one of them, even, Muhammad, every one of them is simply an expression of what exists deeply inside each and every human being. And if we listen to what these great beings taught, we come to a place of spiritual enlightenment. The Messiah actually comes inside us, inside each and every one of us, because we attain a state of enlightenment. So I think that, to me, that's what it's all about, learning how to build an inner life, that each and every one of us is truly a child of God. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask? I really can't wait just to finish, until I can start doing these in-person classes again. I really think it's a very important thing. It was wonderful, the people coming here from all over the United States and doing meditation and doing hands-on healing work. And I'm really looking forward in 2022 to start doing that on a bigger scale. And and all of you, I hope, can benefit. I know, look, you live in Australia. it's not like a half-hour commute to get here. But hopefully it's sometime in the future, we'll figure out a way to do it, you know?
Thank you. I hope so too.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, and God bless you all. Have a wonderful holiday, Christmas, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. There'll be a class on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Bless you. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stuart. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Merry Christmas.
Happy